Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a very important topic, and that is benzodiazepine withdrawal. And if you saw my video on the ugly truth about benzodiazepines, then you understand why some people may want to come off of them. Now, the thing to remember here is that everybody is going to have a unique withdrawal response when coming off of benzodiazepines. There are so many factors in play here when it comes to benzo withdrawal, such as genetics, physiological factors like how is your liver functioning, and things like your support system, how long you've been on the medication and at which dose, and what other medications are you taking. These are all the things that factor into the type of withdrawal that someone is going to have. And so that makes each person's experience with this very unique. Also, not everybody who's on benzodiazepines long-term have to withdraw. It's a personal decision that you have to make, and you have to decide whether or not to withdraw. However, if you saw that video, then you know that there are long-term effects associated with benzodiazepines that may make you think, maybe I need to come off of this medication. So what are the steps to withdrawing? Well, first of all, the first step is to talk with your provider. This is very important because your provider is going to be key here in helping you to come off of benzodiazepines very safely and according to the protocol that you guys set together. And it's also very important that you have a cooperating provider. Now, in the links in the description, I have many resources for you on this topic, including where to go to find a provider who is well versed and educated in how to properly withdraw patients from benzodiazepines. Number two, it's very important that you have a support system. Your support system can be anything like a benzodiazepine group, which there are some in the description that you can link to and you can join for support. Also, this will include family, friends, loved ones, anyone who's going to support you on this journey. It's very important that you do not go at it alone. You are going to need a support system. Number three is that you need to have the right mindset. You need to make sure that this is your choice and you're doing it for you. You're not doing it for someone else, but you're doing it for you, and this is something that you really want to do. Be positive. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can withdraw safely from these medications. And make sure that you celebrate your wins. You see, this is going to be a step-by-step process, and each step that you are lowering your dose, make sure that you celebrate that you relish in the fact that you were able to do it. Because even the small changes are good. Also, be sure that you're patient with yourself. And remember that you are unique, and your journey is going to be different than anyone else's. Which brings us to number four, determining your withdrawal schedule. You see, because there are so many factors involved with the withdrawal process from benzodiazepines, this is where talking to your provider really comes in. And it's important that you discuss with your provider the fears that you may have, and also your concerns that you have about withdrawing. Now, when you're determining your withdrawal schedule, it's important to know that this is not a quick and easy process. This is going to take time, especially if you've been on high dosages of benzodiazepines for a very long time. Abrupt withdrawal from these medications can be very detrimental to your health and can even lead to death. So it's not advised that you just abruptly stop taking it. You have to take it slow. And also keep in mind that long-term use of benzodiazepines have depleted your own brain's GABA receptors. And so it takes time to restore this. Remember, the body takes time to heal. So if you've ever heard any horror stories about withdrawal, it's probably because these people have gone through detox protocols or detox hospitals where they've detoxed them very quickly in like maybe 2 weeks or so. And that is unfortunate because though that may seem safe in medical terms, actually what that's doing is making the person vulnerable for post-withdrawal syndrome, which we'll talk about here towards the end. But that being said, if you come off of benzodiazepines too quickly, your GABA receptors have not had a chance to restabilize. And so you're going to be in a state of autonomic instability for quite a long time until those GABA receptors have a time to heal and bounce back. So when I taper someone off of a benzodiazepine, I like to use the Ashton manual. And there is a link to that down in the description. So what I would do is take that and show it to your doctor if they're not really sure about benzodiazepine withdrawal, or if they propose a schedule that's too rapid, like maybe in 2 weeks. That most likely will not work. So we're going to get right into it here with the Ashton manual, and I'm going to show you an example of a slow withdrawal schedule, so that way you have an idea of what a withdrawal schedule looks like. So here we'll go with the high dose alprazolam. So we're going from 6 milligrams of alprazolam, and we are going to taper off very slowly. And first thing you notice is that these stages here, which say 1 week, you can actually go 1 to 2 weeks here. And again, you don't want to go through very quickly. So if you have to stay on a stage longer than 1 week, that's fine. And then you go through, and even at stage 14, which could be 14 weeks or even 28 weeks, you're now just at diazepam. And so that's the first thing I want you to look at is the length of time that it takes, okay? So that's what I mean by slow and taking your time. The other thing I want you to notice is that you switch over to diazepam or Valium, because diazepam has a lower potency, so you need higher dosages of diazepam, but also more importantly, because diazepam has a long half-life, anywhere from 20 hours up to like 200 hours. So diazepam will stay in the system longer, making the withdrawal process a lot easier for you. Now, the low potency is a factor because you can't get down without alprazolam, for instance. The lowest you can get down is going to be like 0.5. And then 0.5 is going to equate to about 10 milligrams of diazepam. And so unless you're breaking this into quarters and even eighths, you're not going to be able to get lower than that. However, diazepam, once you get down to the diazepam schedule, you'll see that you can actually get down to 1 milligram of diazepam. That is like 0.1 milligrams of the Xanax. And so that will give you a smoother transition and a smoother withdrawal effect with minimal side effects. That's what we're aiming for. You want to have minimal side effects. So once you switch over, I also want you to note here that the first few stages here, we're not changing the dose equivalent. We are just going from alprazolam and slowly introducing the diazepam until the body has adjusted to the diazepam. Then we start decreasing that total dose here. And eventually here by stage 10, we are now stopping this dose of Xanax or alprazolam, and we are moving now into diazepam only. Okay? Once you get into diazepam only, then you move down to the diazepam only schedule. starting at 40 milligrams here. So as you can see, this is not a quick process. It's very slow. And when you're coming up and determining your own schedule is going to look differently. It's going to depend on your body. Which leads us to number 5, a very, very important tip when you're withdrawing from benzodiazepines is that you need to listen to your body, because it says, and when you go through these stages, 1 to 2 weeks. However, as you're going through these stages, you may need to stay in one stage for more than 2 weeks. Some people will stay in a stage for a month before they reduce to the next stage. And that's important to remember, that when you make your schedule, don't be so rigid with yourself and having to stick with it, because the important factor here is that you do it safely and slowly and comfortably based on the symptoms that you're experiencing as you withdraw. So these are common withdrawal effects that you may experience, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to experience all of those symptoms. Like I said, everyone's journey in this is going to be different. So it's important to listen to your body and the warning signs that perhaps you may be moving too quickly in the withdrawal stages. So if you start feeling a little shaky, you start having panic attacks again, you start hyperventilating, those are signs that you need to stop, stay on that stage for a while, because you do not want to go into the danger zone. And what I mean by the danger zone is when you start having hallucinations, psychosis, not in touch with reality, you start trembling to the point where you're having spasms that lead to seizures. This is the danger zone, and that is when you need to get yourself into a hospital. And as I mentioned earlier, post-withdrawal syndrome can happen, and what this is after you've withdrawn from the benzodiazepine, so you're done, you got off your schedule, and now you're free from whatever medication you were on, you may experience some post-withdrawal syndrome, which in the research, it shows perhaps 10 to 25% of patients will experience this. However, it's most common in those who withdraw too rapidly. So if you listen to your body, like we're talking about, and you go very slowly, your risk of post-withdrawal symptoms will be reduced. But basically what it is that you end up still experiencing some of the mostly psychological features, like some of the residual anxiety. Perhaps you still feel a little nervous. Your heart rate may be higher than normal. This just means that your inhibitory response, your GABA system, hasn't completely turned on. And so it's going to need a little bit more time and perhaps a little bit of retraining to get you back on track. And this is treated with cognitive behavior therapy, meditation, exercising, and deep breathing are all really good tools to use if you're experiencing post-withdrawal syndrome, or even if you're going through withdrawal and you get stuck on a stage. Using these tools throughout the process of the withdrawal will actually help you to elicit the relaxation response and decrease the activated system in your body and help to inhibit those responses. So definitely talk with either a therapist or your doctor about using any of these treatments into your daily schedule as you're withdrawing. It'll help prevent you from having a lot of the autonomic symptoms, but also to help jumpstart the inhibitory response. So those are the 5 tips. However, there are some don'ts and things that you want to avoid when you're going through this process. You don't want to compare yourself to someone else, because remember, everyone is going to be unique in their journey on withdrawing from benzos. Don't set a deadline, because it's going to take time and you may need to stay in a stage longer than you thought, which is not a failure. Remember, each step down is a success. But if you set a deadline for yourself and you don't reach it, you may be setting yourself up for disappointment. So don't do it. Don't set a deadline. And don't be tempted to go backwards, meaning if you go to a different stage and you lower the dose and you start experiencing some of those withdrawal symptoms, don't go back up to the last stage. Just hang in there, stay in that stage for a little bit, and those symptoms will eventually level out. Also, don't take extra tablets, like have some extra on hand in case something happens, because you're just prolonging the process and then stepping backwards, which we don't want to do. You also don't want to compensate with alcohol or marijuana or any other drugs, because that will also affect your GABA receptors' ability to come into action and to heal. So definitely do not compensate with any other drugs. And that includes things like sleeping pills, because they oftentimes also act on those benzodiazepine receptors. Then you may end up getting dependent on those sleeping pills. Also, this is not the time to try and withdraw from other medications or other things. This isn't the time to quit smoking or to also come off of your antidepressant if you're on one, or anything else. When you're doing a benzodiazepine withdrawal, you just want to focus on withdrawing from that. Also, keep in mind that if you are dependent on alcohol and a benzodiazepine, you are going to want to withdraw from alcohol first before withdrawing from the benzodiazepine. And that is going to take a longer process, because alcohol also works on the benzodiazepine system and the GABA receptors in your brain very similarly to the benzodiazepines, the Klonopin, the Ativan, the Valium. Alcohol acts very similarly. And so you're gonna wanna detox from the alcohol first and then go into the benzodiazepine withdrawal. Also keep in mind, if for any reason you don't succeed, maybe you get stuck on a stage for longer than you intend, it's okay. You can always try again. And remember to be kind to yourself. This is a process and this is a journey that takes time to heal. So please have patience and be kind to yourself. I hope that you found this video useful and hope that you are able to come off the benzodiazepine safely using the tips provided in this video. If you have any questions or comments about this video, please drop them down below and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So, take care. I thank you for watching and I'll look forward to seeing you next week.